Hello! The buff sets. You see, in Monster Hunter World, when you would load into a quest, all your buffs on your character would reset and you could only ever use buffs that you got during that specific quest. However, in Monster Hunter Wilds, Capcom made it so you can use these buffs before the quest, even with another set, and the effects would actually pause inside of the safe zones up until you actually started a quest or started roaming the map. So much so that a lot of the speedrunners are actually running an extra set just for the sake of the buffs. So what I have here for you today is a set that is designed for the maximum effects that a buffing set can have. But the cool thing about this one is that I was able to come up with a set that not only has all the skills needed for the best buffing set, but also has all the skills for the most insane gathering set all in one. I have tested pretty much every single skill, all the way from the Protein Fiend to the Blango Warcry, and this is the best set that you can have in Monster Hunter Wilds. You can even start doing your first speedrun with this as your buff set. So let's get started. Firstly, I want to go over all the skills that are used for the buffing. Wide range at level 5 gives your item effects to all your nearby allies at 100% of its effectiveness. This means that you don't actually have to make an extra set to buff your allies. You can use this to basically buff up to 4 players or even more before a quest actually starts. Speed eating will allow you to consume all of your buffs at a much faster rate, so the time that it takes to buff between the hunts is actually very small. Mushromancer is a very good skill that allows you to consume different types of mushrooms for effects that are the same as many items that you actually have to craft, and considering the mushrooms are much easier to obtain, this skill is mandatory. To give you an example of how good this skill actually is, an item like Dash Juice, which decreases your stamina usage, requires Dash Extract, which can only be traded or farmed by killing certain monsters like Gypsros, and this item is almost mandatory for every single weapon, especially since the skill Max Might is currently the meta for getting Max Affinity, and Max Might only activates when your stamina is at max. But even if you don't actually want this buff for all of your weapons, there is absolutely no argument that bows and dual blades are in desperate need of stamina and have to use this item for optimal damage. Well, you no longer need to farm for something like Dash Juice because the Devil's Blight mushroom actually gives you the exact same effect for 5 minutes. But that's not the end. The item prolonger is actually going to increase the duration of all of our items by 50%. This makes your Might Seeds and Demon Powders last more than 4 minutes, and it works with all of our buffs as well. On the other hand, to make things even more efficient and we don't have to actually farm for these all the time, since we'll be using them pretty much for every single hunt, we have the skill Free Meal, which activates 45% of the time and will refund your used consumable to you. But since I promised this set will also be the best set for gathering items, so you don't have to waste an extra slot or waste your time watching another video for that, we have the skills Botanist, Geologist, Intimidator, Entomologist, Outdoorsman, and finally the set bonus Imparted Wisdom. All of these skills work together to give you the best gathering set that you can possibly have. I have looked up and tested pretty much every single other skill, and they are niche at best, and in no way adding another skill will make this build better. I will say this though, since the skill adaptability allows you to not have to consume hot drinks or cold drinks, and it will adapt to the environment for you, if you want that skill instead, you can switch up Entomologist for that skill, since the Entomologist isn't a skill that you're going to be using all the time. Okay, now that we saw every single skill that can help us, how can we actually get this set? This is the full set that I'm using. There are, I think, 2 more possible combinations of this set, but no matter what, you will have to build secret pieces like Sealed Hood A and Azuz Pants A. These equipment, though, are very easy to obtain. All you have to do is to talk to Nada and trade the specific material for different regions to get access to their specific armor set. Be wary though, because these materials are in a cycle, so it might not be available the second that you talk to Nada. Finally, for the slotted jewels, I will quickly show you guys what I've done so you can copy it for yourself. These are all the things that you can do, and you will get access to pretty much every single skill that we talked about. Before we go over items you will need for buffing before hunts, I quickly want to go over some skills that I tested and how they actually work, because some of these skills are actually pretty good, but they have either an extreme condition or will be dropped as soon as you switch your set. The first skill is the Juvu set bonus Protein Fiend, and this skill actually can give you up to 25 attack, which which overrides the item might seed, but sadly the second you take off your set will end the effect. But what do you mean? Isn't that how it's supposed to be? Well, not entirely, because another skill called War Cry, which is the set bonus from the Blango set, actually stays with you even if you take off the armor associated with it. However, this skill also overrides Demon Powder, and instead of actually giving you more this time, it gives you 6 attack, while Demon Powder gives you 10 attack, so that's why I'm not going to be using it. There are some other skills as well, like Inspiration and Self-Improvement, but I tested pretty much every single one of them for you guys, and none of them are worth to be in our build. Now that we went over all the skills and our equipment, these are all the items that we can buff ourselves with. Note that you don't need every single one of these. I'm just showing you all the possibilities. I myself never use defense buffs, but you can use whatever you like from this pool. The first 2 rows are attack and defense buff, with the red ones being attack and the yellow and orange being defense. The mushroom I put on the bottom is equivalent to a normal demon drug or armor skin, and it's much better to use these because they are just one ingredient. But since I use Mega Demon Drug, I don't use Nitro Shroom, for example, because it overrides it. But since the Mega Armor skin is too much of a hassle for me, I use the equivalent of its normal version, which is the Parashroom. So a Parashroom equals 1 armor skin, and a Nitro Shroom equals Demon Drug. The next 2 on each column are seeds and powders, which give you bonus attack and defense for 3 minutes each, but since we have item prolonger, they will last for more than 4 minutes. Next is Armor Charm and Power Charm, but these aren't really consumables. I just have them here for testing attack power reference. Wild Jerky and Toadstool both do the same thing, but I don't really know if they stack or not. Sadly, I couldn't really find any info regarding this, and I didn't have the time to test it for myself, but their effect is pretty much similar. They increase the red HP recovery rate. Using these, you will see your red HP turn yellow, which indicates it's regenerating faster. Finally, we have a very important buff coming from the Devil's Blight, which is, as we discussed, is equivalent to a dash juice and is extremely helpful. It basically reduces your stamina consumption, which helps with every single weapon, considering current meta and how useful stamina is in this game. So one of my cycles, for example, looks like this.
What this place looked like before it fell into ruin.
You're a fucking idiot.
The final tip I have for you guys is about a buff that comes with the Hunting Horn. With Wilds, Capcom has given us 2 weapon choices that we can swap easily mid-fight, and honestly I don't see many people taking advantage of their secondary weapon, either if it is as a form of bowgun or bow using status coatings and ammo, or straight up just changing their melee weapon of choice mid-fight. So if you guys are one of those people, the best option for you is a Hunting Horn, and specifically I'm talking about the Ajarakan Horn, and this horn gives you 2 really amazing buffs, which are the attack up large and the earplugs. Now you can't use these before you join a quest or start one, since the horn buffs reset at the start of the quest, but since many of you don't actually care about the hunt time, or maybe you're joining someone else's hunt, before your Sacred walks up to the target monster, you can play these 2 songs of the horn, which are attack up large and earplugs, and even if you switch your weapons, the buff will still stick to you for the entire duration. The skill Sonorous doesn't really work with this, as the duration goes back to default when you switch weapons, but still this is such a huge amount of attack power, and it's percentage based, so your attack can actually end up looking like this.
Holy Jesus.
But yeah, that's about it guys. I really hope you learned something new. Don't forget to subscribe, as we are a newborn channel and I really need your help. All the likes, comments and shares are really helpful, and with that said, I see you all next time.